Shalom from Jerusalem. My name is Albert Wexler. I'm the director of Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast, and we are here to give answers for our allies. We are at the Friends of Zion Museum with some fantastic people. Danny and Ann Ayalon, I'm really happy that you came. We had a fantastic Zoom interview with you a week ago, but it's so much better to have you here in person.
Pleasure.
And of course, you have a fantastic accomplishments in your career as a Israeli ambassador to United States, and then the deputy foreign minister position. And then after that, you've been advocating for Israel for years and years and years. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being with us. And you, as the president of the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom, thank you so much for being with us today. Now, we see something quite unusual in Israel after the October 7th tragedy. I mean, we were faced with the Holocaust type of atrocities one day, so much pain, so much horrible experiences for families. Still, they are processing it. 1,200 people murdered. We talk about 240 in Gaza as hostages. At the same time, we had Bulgarian Prime Minister, President Macron, Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis, Prime Minister Sunak, President of Hungary, Katalin Novak, Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala, Austrian Chancellor Nehammer, and many others. I mean, I need to mention also European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Parliament President Roberta Metsola coming. And of course, Biden and Blinken showing up here, which was very significant support for Israel. It's quite unprecedented, isn't it?
It is unprecedented. It's an unprecedented barbaric attack, and it's an unprecedented support from the decent world, from the civil world, which we, of course, very much appreciate, because not only it shows that we are not alone, but it shows that we are all together. And actually the attack is against all of us. Excuse me.
Bless you. But also the 7th of October exposed the ugly face of many whom we, had we thought a normal relationship with, and it's quite difficult to see how suddenly Russia is using even biblical imagery in condemning Israel, saying that Israel is sacrificing to Moloch of all things.
Well, you want to say something about it?
It's quite shocking. I mean, isn't it? And I mean,
we were so grateful for these leaders to come to Israel and to show the support and to understand that they needed to stand with Israel at that time.
See, with Russia, we have to understand the worst anti-Semitism came from Russia. The protocol of the elderly of Zion. This is supposedly a collusion of world Jewry to control the world. All this incitement, all these lies came out of the agents of the Tsar in the beginning of the 20th century, 1901, 1902. They started it. Pogroms, the worst ones, were in Russia. And again, today, Russia is siding with the Islamists against the Western world.
And I hear from my Russian friends that the atmosphere has turned into very vicious, very hostile. And inside Russia, people talking, looking at other people saying, is he Jewish?
Yes.
And neighbors, you can see them plotting against the Jewish neighbors. It's very unnerving. It's very, I mean, it's horrible to see this coming again.
It is horrible. And I think also what the Russian government is doing is trying to use the Jews as kind of a scapegoat, and to use it as one of their psychological warfare against the West.
Well, they are, of course, very well versed from the KGB times when the anti-Semitism was the state run propaganda. And I mean, it's it's really sad to see how this is coming back. Now, we were talking about the young generation and the support Israel is losing with the young people, the campuses, what is happening there. Somebody said to me that the reason why we are losing this battle is that the young people are trained to get this TikTok messages, YouTube, Facebook. They are getting their response after 3 seconds, of impressions. And if they look more than 15 seconds, this is a quality, kind of a engagement with information. I mean, our generation seems to be very different in that sense that we need to be things corroborated, we need the facts, we need the history. 3 seconds history, 15 seconds history.
I know.
How do you deal with this?
This instant TikTok technology education is really the major cause of this anti-Semitism, because they get their information from the lies of the KGB or from the lies of the Islamic Jihad or the Hamas, of the Iranians. This is the main problem. Today, younger generation is not well versed with their Bible. They're not well versed with history. All you have to do is open books of history. All you have to do is look at the archaeological digs and archaeological studies to understand that the Jewish people are from Israel, and Israel is the only land that the Jews have ever had and were promised, and this is our land. Why are Jews called Jews? Because we are from Judea. Arabs are called Arabs because they are from Arabia. But you have to learn history to understand all the context of where we are today. And we have this younger generation, unfortunately, in Western countries that have been duped by these lies of the Islamists.
And you were talking about some exciting moments at Berkeley.
Oh,
Tell me about this.
When Danny was ambassador to the United States, he spoke at many universities. And we did one trip out to San Francisco when he went to speak at Berkeley. And of course, we needed extra police security. And actually, Berkeley did not want a Jewish person to come and speak. It's often has to be organized by Hillel or one of the Jewish organizations there. The student unions now have been infiltrated by many Muslims, and they are determining who are the speakers on campus. But Danny was brought as the ambassador, and they had quite a big group in there. But I would say a good 1/3 of the group actually stood up when Danny began to speak and brought their arms up in fists and turned around. And it was a very, very disconcerting. This is already 15 years ago. So you know that it's compounded each year. And till we see what is happening today on the universities with all the solidarity for Palestinian justice and these organizations, which are actually just cover for terrorist organizations such as Hamas.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate to see these things develop in the West, and I understand that there is a great concern of what is really happening in Europe, what is happening in the United States.
Well, we have to understand, and there are many studies about that. The Palestinians for decades now have poured hundreds of millions of dollars for propaganda against Israel and against the Jews. And again, if they capture these young minds in the campuses who do not know much better, and they are fed, over and over again with the same lies. It's like Goebbels type propaganda. Goebbels, the propaganda minister of the Nazis, he said, if you repeat a lie 1,000 times, people will take it as the truth. This is what they have been doing, not from now. They have been doing it for decades now. And all we need to do is just connect the dots. They did it in campuses in Europe. Now they're doing it in campuses in the United States. They're doing it in civil organizations. And what are the Palestinians doing? They realized that they cannot win Israel through a military warfare, not through an economic warfare, not through a technological warfare. So they went into what is our Achilles heel, which is where we are outnumbered, is in the propaganda war, in the political war. You know, there is only one Jewish state. There are 22 Arab states, 57 Muslim countries. They create a real bloc, whether it's in the United Nations with the automatic majority against us. And here again, we go to the United Nations as one of the main source of anti-Semitism, because you think, and again, those young students, they look at all these thousands of resolutions of the United Nations against Israel, and they think, oh, the UN is a neutral organization. If they condemn Israel, Israel is bad. They don't understand that the UN is bad because of the composition of the Arab majority, that it is like a kangaroo court where they condemn Israel. In 1975, they even passed a resolution, outrageous resolution, that says that Zionism is racism. You know, Zionism, the godly return to Zion, they said it was racism. Why? Because the Palestinians and the Arabs pushed it. Now, what do the Palestinians are trying to do? They're trying to make Israel as a colonialist state and an apartheid state. And they go here and they strike very, very, very deep chords. Why? Because, for instance, in Europe, there is a lot of guilt about colonialism of Europe, in Africa, in Asia, anywhere else. So now, the younger generation, to atone, you know, they're trying to shy away from colonialism. But instead of criticizing their old countries in the past, they're criticizing Israel for colonialism. Israel is not a colonialist. This is our homeland. But the Palestinians have switched, you know, just turned history on its back with the lies. And you have those students, again, who do not know anything. When they shout from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, right? They don't even know what river it is, where it is. It's the Jordan River, right? This is where the land of Israel is, between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean. But they shout this in order to erase the state of Israel from the map. And they're being fed by those Islamists. Today, there are millions of Muslim immigrants in Europe, also in the United States. They are the ones who actually promote, and are the worst anti-Semitic manifestations come from them. But they also recruit these young, tender minds of progressive, you know, native Europeans, or many generations Americans who do not know any better. So they romanticize as if they are fighting a just cause against colonialism. They don't know they're doing just the opposite.
The opposite. And of course, there is an ample supply of money coming from Qatar and from many other places. And then, of course, they hire the professors of their liking, and of course, the results we see.
If Qatar gives billions of dollars, sometimes even Saudi Arabia, to places like Harvard, then they can really say or have a stake at what they teach in Harvard, or what professors they hire in Harvard, or what chairs, you know, they appoint, you know, professors. And you see a lot of the anti-Semitic rhetoric comes from the faculty, not just the students. So this faculty, they are teaching the students in the same manner of these lies of the Palestinians.
And what do you think can be done so that the campus atmosphere would change? Christians can do something.
Well, I remember that there were some Christian organizations on our campus, and everything was peaceful and very nice, but it was not political at all. And the young kids on campus did not know anything about Israel except from the Bible stories. So they did not know about modern day Israel, or the whole purpose of the rebirth of Israel as a nation, that it was fulfilling prophecy. I wanted to add one more point in. The fact is that Israel is a democracy, and that means we have many voices coming out of Israel. And not everyone agrees, and we're very vociferous, very vocal in our opinions. But when you're talking about the Palestinian Authority or Iran or Hamas or Hezbollah, they all have the same message. So you have 1 billion people saying the same message, while you have 8 million people giving 20 or 30 different messages. And of course, we air all of our different opinions, and there are many on the left and many on the right. And it makes it difficult for Christians then to understand, well, what should we support? What should we do? But what Danny is saying, if you're knowing your Bible and you're having a good education, you know what you need to do, and that is stand with Israel.
Absolutely. And of course, coming back to this arena of United Nations and the automatic majority that dictatorships very much control. I mean, United Nations is the only place where these dictatorships have anything to do with democracy. That's the only place that the voting is taking place, because at home they don't vote. They just get commands from the Ayatollahs or from supreme leaders or whatever they are.
Absolutely.
And also the picture you mentioned about, was it 57 Arab countries? The territories, somebody gave a picture that Israel is like the matchbox on a football field.
Right.
That's the size of Israel compared to the Arab nations around us.
If you look, if you look at the vast expanse of the Middle East, Israel makes less than 1/3 of 1% of the entire territory. So it's not a territorial war. It's not the, I mean, the Arabs have 99.7% of the entire territory. So for the jihadists, for the Islamists, it's just a matter of not having anything which is not Islamist in the Middle East is first, and then jumping over to Europe and others. If you look at the map, small Israel is like I would say it's like a cork stopping this boiling incitement and boiling hatred of Islamist jihadists that are actually directing all their energy against us. But we are stopping it. If they were to blow this cork away, where would they go? They would spill over immediately to Europe. And from Europe, next would be to North America. So this is why people of great understanding of history, of geopolitics, also of common sense, they understand that they should support Israel. Because if Israel, God forbid, was not there, the life in Europe would be totally different.
Well, it's the very foundation of the Judeo-Christian world, and I mean the Bible. If you don't have it, if you don't have this part of the history, if you don't base your life and your understanding and your societies on this, then there is really nothing you stand on, because the fathers of these societies built on that foundation. And so that's the challenge, to have the young generation continue in these lines. And I mean, going to the campuses and going to the universities is the only way maybe that this could be done. Now, when you look at the bigger picture, I mean, you have seen it as the Deputy Foreign Minister. You met with George W. Bush, Sharon meetings. You've met with many world leaders. Anything you want to share about your meetings and this time?
Yes, I think there are two stories that should be told. The first one relates to how democracies deal with threats. And the second one is about the importance of legitimacy. So the first one is a meeting that we've had with George W. Bush in, it was May of 2001, just 6 months or 4 months before 9/11. And at that time already we had the Intifada, the terrorism that came out of Arafat's Palestinian Authority. And we met with Bush at the White House, and we tried to explain to him what it is to deal with terrorism. And we tried to bring it kind of home to him. So we said, Arik Sharon told him, listen, just think that as President of the United States, you have to think what to do if there are already rockets coming to Texas from Mexico. And he continued, Sharon, I'm sure in such a case that in 1 hour there wouldn't be Mexico. And Bush looked at him and without flipping an eye said, why 1 hour? In 10 minutes there wouldn't be Mexico. This is how countries take care of their citizens. If they are at risk, if they are threatened, you have to eliminate the threat. So this is what we need to do. And those who are trying to limit Israel's power by some immature or premature ceasefire or talking about quote-unquote proportional use of force, it is ridiculous. Because if you use proportional amount of force, the Nazis would still be governing Europe. And the imperial Japan regime would still be in power and threatening the entire Far East. This is common sense, and this is also the only way to do it, is to stop killing and war, is to overpower evil and terrorists. So there's no something like unproportional force when you deal with Nazis, when you deal with ISIS or with Hamas. Another story is when we met with John Paul II 2 popes ago, inviting him. It was 2000, actually it was the end of 1999. We invited him for the millennia, for the 2000, for the year 2000, and we told him that to come to Israel, and he was very, very kind. He said, when I go to Israel, I don't need to take a tour guide. All I need to bring is the Bible, because the Bible is my tour guide. You see, you open the Bible, and everything comes alive when you come to the land of Israel. Jerusalem is in the same place as it's described there. Shiloh, Bethel, Mount Carmel, Mount Tabor, everything. And then he said something which was really very deep, and we were very impressed to hear it from the Pope. He asked us, do you know the difference between Terra Santa and Terra Promissa? Do you know the difference between Terra Santa, the Holy Land, and Terra Promissa, the Promised Land? And without waiting for an answer, he said, Terra Santa, the land is holy for all peoples, for all religions, but it was promised only to the Jews. And then we asked him, could you say it in public? He said, oh, no, I'm afraid. If I say it in public, all the Christians' lives in the world will be at risk because they will be attacked by radical Muslims.
Well, I was just reminded of this, that the Palestinian Liberation Organization started in 1964.
Right.
Way before the Six-Day War, way before Judea and Samaria were liberated really from the Jordanian illegal rule.
Right.
And I mean, all of these talks about liberation, I mean, if you just look into the history, you realize that there is this deep, deep set hatred against the Jewish people, against the Jewish presence in this land. And this is actually what the Bible promised, that God will bring us back from every nation and take us to his land, our own land, promised to Abraham. And again, we've seen it, and yet it takes people to understand, to connect the biblical Israel to the modern Israel. And you are so good at explaining this to people, aren't you?
Well, they make it very clear in Isaiah and in the Bible that Gentiles will carry Jews back on their shoulders to the promised land. And it's just very clear that the Jewish people were going to come from the four corners of the earth back to this land and reestablish the state, the nation of Israel. And it's very important how the Christians play a role here, because they are to be watchmen on the wall. So the outreach to educate and build relationships is very important with the Christian world.
And I'm so thankful to you also. You mentioned it in the previous segment, how You in the role of president of the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom have been able to really bring support to Israel in this tragic hour. You mentioned 14 ambulances were destroyed by the Hamas terrorists.
On October 7th, yes. Burned, riddled with bullets, it shot the ambulance driver, shot other paramedics who were treating the wounded. For us, it has been a horrific time as well. And we do have PTSD within our dispatch center, where many of our people had to actually talk with the young children who were hidden in closets, and to tell them to keep their voices quiet and to be very still, but to stay on the phone with them so that these children would be saved. So even our own staff and our volunteers have been affected by the horrific events of October 7th. For us, we've worked hard to replace the ambulances and the medical equipment that goes into the ambulances, the gloves and syringes and Band-Aids, plasters, tourniquets, all kinds of basic supplies. And even on the ambulances, if a Christian is donating, it's very important for us to have a dedication on the ambulance so that Israelis know, the Jewish people know, that we are not alone, that the Christian world is standing with us, that we are supported by them. And it really lifts us up. We do feel the prayers, we do feel the support of the Christian world.
Did I hear it correct that you've been able to replace these 14 ambulances? Did the new ones come in? The promise?
They are already being sourced. Some are coming from Croatia, some from Germany, some from the United States. We have airlifted in ambulances. It was so critical. Within a few years, we hope to have 2,000 ambulances. Currently, we have 1,400. And all 1,400 are deployed around Israel, and they service everyone, Jew, Christian, Muslim, Druze. Everyone is taken care of by Magen David Adom, and much of our staff and our volunteers are Jews, Christians, Muslims, working together hand in hand to help our communities. So we do know that we have friends and fellowship with our neighbors who are not just Jewish. And this is very important for me to express that.
And it is so important that our friends, everyone here who is hearing us, would be able to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. But not only that, there are so many ways how you can help, how you can speak to your congressmen, your members of parliament. You can bring them the facts. I mean, Israel is fighting in a horrible war, and we're not fighting because we love to fight. We didn't want this war. We didn't want to go on this war with Hamas. It was forced upon us. Israel was not the one initiating this. Far from it. Israel had left the Gaza Strip. Israel had given this place for the Palestinian Arabs to build up their lives there, their society there. As Danny said earlier, it could have been a Singapore in the Middle East. But we need your support. We need your prayers. You can go to the website and find the Christian Friends of Magen David Adom. We will have the link of the website ready on the program. So you can go in there. You can support this fantastic work that Anne is doing. And remember, those who pray for the peace of Jerusalem will prosper, and those who bless the seed of Abraham will be blessed. So tune in tomorrow. Please share this important message, answers for our allies, and see you tomorrow. Shalom from Jerusalem.